Well, ladies and gentlemen, today I am going to be talking about and giving a full forensic data analysis study on the Twin Towers and the surrounding area security cameras. There's some different reports going around about, did the security cameras capture either of the collapses in the time before the Twin Towers collapsed? And is the FBI potentially holding the footage that the cameras captured because of pending trials that will likely never be resolved, or at least won't be resolved for a while, with some of the terrorists surrounding the September 11th plot? They've kind of used it as potentially an excuse to hold a lot of Twin Towers 9/11 related content. And also, we did have the major purge of YouTube. We've also got people coming out and saying that they had video, or their friends had video, and it was confiscated by the FBI because apparently it was high profile and they've never gotten it back. And it's like all these pending cases, things like that. Donald Trump has said that if he does win the presidency in 2024, the U.S. presidency, he will declassify a lot of things when it comes to September 11th, although I really would not hold your breath when it comes to that, because Trump's promised a lot of things like that. He hasn't done it, and especially when it comes to like video of September 11th, because that's what I'm really interested in when it comes to potentially new things getting released, things that have been buried, things that have been deleted off of the internet, the early days of YouTube. That's the type of stuff we want to see. But you can just see some of the security cameras surrounding the Twin Towers, connected to the Marriott. Inside of the Twin Towers, there were also security cameras. Obviously, now those ones were destroyed, right? The towers collapsed. There's no way you're going to recover that. The security cameras back in 2001, it's not like today where everything gets recorded and goes to like a cloud. It's saved on the VHS. So once that gets crushed and the mechanism gets destroyed, you're not able to recover that or extract that. The security footage basically just stays in one little area. It's not like it goes to, another building, in essence, like the whole idea of a cloud where the second something gets recorded, it immediately gets saved. That just didn't happen in 2001. Obviously, this was 6 years before the iPhone. So any of the footage inside the Twin Towers would be totally destroyed, although it is kind of chilling to think about potential video from the lobby or from some of the floors getting all smoky, maybe video of, the plane coming and hitting, although that's basically impossible. You would have to have a crazy angle for that. Now, there was a feed that we got from the top of the North Tower, like right next to the antenna, and you could see out and see Lower Manhattan. It really wasn't about the Twin Towers. It was just like a nice view that a lot of different TV networks used. And you can see the difference. Now, it doesn't capture the planes approaching or anything like that, but what it does capture is the time frame in between when the photos were taken, because this was like a still image where it took a photo every 15 minutes. The first photo is taken, and then after the plane hits the North Tower, the next photo that gets snapped would have been like, 5 minutes after the plane hits, because it takes it in increments. And in the second photo versus the first photo, you can see the second photo is in a slightly different position. It's like off center. And the reason it's off center is because the tower actually shifted. That's really the only thing that I know we have. And that's not even inside of the towers. And it doesn't even show the crash or anything like that. But it is an interesting thing to think about. That's like the only feed that we have that we were actually able to get, because it was a feed projecting elsewhere, like to the news networks and things like that. But when it comes to all of the security cameras surrounding the area, it really is just speculation from what I've learned in terms of if any of these survived. Did the FBI get their hands on any of them? A lot of this has still got to be classified. We have to understand it's still only, a little over 2 decades since this happened. If we're talking about the year 2035, 2040, I think stuff at some point is going to have to start trickling out, but you could still make the argument it's simply too soon. So whether or not we get that at any point, we will have to see. But there were security cameras obviously all over the place. World Trade Center, the Building 4, the Marriott, Building 5, Building 6, and also the Twin Towers. And you can actually see some of the security cameras inside of the Twin Towers. Now, whether or not those were set up, I'm sure they were. But the problem is, once the towers get crushed, it basically gets totally destroyed because it's not a feed going somewhere else. Now, when it comes to the security cameras you've seen like surrounding the building, I highly doubt any of those survived. I know there was also speculation that there were a few people, when they broke the windows above where the planes hit because they were trying to get breathable air, People were saying there's a few people that it looked like if you zoom in really close, they might have cameras or they might be trying to film something. A lot of that is optical illusions. It's like believing what you want to believe. People want to believe that people are actually filming up there and maybe we would somehow recover it. It's just, I would be shocked if people were actually filming. There was just no, when it comes to like 2001, there's no mobile phone. You don't go and there's no instinct to film stuff, especially when you're that high up. Now in 2024, I do think that would be a thing that would be very prevalent, but we're just in such a different society. I know people are like looking at a few different people zooming in and saying, well, that might be a camera. And technically they're right, it might be, but I just find it really unrealistic that people would actually have like a camera of some sort or like a video recorder up there recording. You could argue, well, it's a crazy moment. Maybe they're trying to get it on camera, but their lives are in immediate danger. You're not thinking about that. Again, in 2024, I'm sure there would be people recording, probably live streaming or something. It's just crazy how society has changed, but I would be shocked if there was any of that. And then also you would have to somehow get that to survive. If you really want to be technical with it, you technically could get recoverable footage. The way you would do it is, let's say it would have to be somebody above the impact zone and they would be filming all around them. And then like you throw the camera out the window, maybe attached to something to where it could land safely or things like that. I mean, because honestly, there's a much higher chance if you throw a camera out of a window, especially if it's attached to something, maybe like a makeshift parachute, you could get a camera down from those upper floors. Obviously, if you just threw it out, it would break immediately when it impacted the concrete or one of the roofs, whatever it impacted, but you would be able to get it out. But nobody was thinking about doing that. Another thing I wanted to talk about, we all know the Muhammad Atta footage. That's been looked at thousands and thousands and thousands of times at the main airport. There's also footage, little known footage, at the Dulles airport in DC, and that would have been the Arlington flight where they flew it into the Pentagon. There's footage of the lead hijacker there. That kind of a rare thing that I'm sure maybe a lot of people haven't seen. I did want to also bring attention to that. So when it comes to the security, when it comes to the videos surrounding possibly inside of the Twin Towers, yes, there was security cameras that captured the inside of the Twin Towers right after they got hit, but they immediately got destroyed on collapse. And there was no feed to where those would be saved immediately and you could look back on them and see. That's just not how it worked in 2001. The only thing that I've seen would have been the still shots in 15-minute increments on the North Tower, like right next to the antenna or propped up somehow. And that was mainly for news. And they would show that and it's like, oh, look how sunny it is in Lower Manhattan, things like that. And the only thing that you can tell, it did not capture the plane coming or the explosion or anything like that because it happened in between the two still shots captured because it was on a timer. But you can tell that it's knocked off the center to where like it looks like the tower has moved an inch or something like that. And it did shake, obviously, because it swayed. It was meant to sway whenever there was high winds. And, obviously a massive plane impacting it at 400, 500 miles per hour, it is going to create that huge sway, kind of like absorbing a massive wind gust, if you will, times 100. And obviously it did stay up, and it did do a good job absorbing that before it did fall. Now, I am hopeful that we will at some point get video. I mean, the question is how much? How much video do they actually have that is still not available to the public for whatever reason, whether it's ongoing cases, whether it's just they wanted to scrub it because it's graphic. Maybe there's a lot of footage that's just lost completely that was only on YouTube, and once it gets deleted off of YouTube, there's no way to archive it. It's just gone totally. We just don't know how many different scenarios there are out there when it comes to a lot of this footage that potentially has been lost or at least is hidden right now. It could be a little, it could be a lot, it could be very revealing, it could be, maybe just a dud. We don't really know, but obviously there is footage that they are keeping under wraps for whatever reason. And at some point, I would say that will be released. It's just a matter of how long do they wait to release it? Are they still going to use the excuse of there's ongoing cases? I mean, it's just ridiculous. This thing happened over 2 decades ago. Let's go. Maybe if Trump comes in, it'll get released, although I don't think they're going to be really focusing on, like, they're declassifying documents and stuff, and possibly it's like Saudi Arabia's involvement in it. I'm more interested in seeing the videos that have been privated personally. but I don't think that's what we would even get, even if it does get declassified, the stuff that he's talking about. So either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.